My girlfriend said you're overthinking everything until her cloud backup synced on my laptop. It began with small inconsistencies that were easy to ignore at first. Her stories no longer matched word for word, and her tone changed when I asked about things that never used to bother her. Her phone, once left lying anywhere, was now always face down. The same woman who used to laugh at memes with me now hid her screen like it carried state secrets. I kept convincing myself that I was overreacting. She was stressed from work. I was tired for mine. Maybe we were just drifting and needed time. But the more I tried to silence my gut, the louder it spoke. She stayed up late, texting under the blanket, saying it was her coworker asking about a project. She would lock her phone right after typing and look at me with a half smile that never reached her eyes. When I asked what was going on, she rolled her eyes and told me I was overthinking everything. Those words hit like a slap. She said it with confidence, like she was the calm one and I was the storm. I started doubting myself, wondering if my mind was creating patterns that did not exist. One Friday evening, she said she was going out with coworkers for dinner. She dressed up more than usual, put on the perfume I had bought her for our anniversary, and left in a rush. I told her to have fun, and tried to believe her. At 10, I sent her a text asking if she was heading home soon. No response. Midnight came, and a single message appeared. Heading home now, with a picture of a cocktail. I zoomed in without meaning to. 2 straws. One hand visible, not hers. My chest felt heavy, but I stayed quiet. I stared at the picture until my screen went dark. The next morning, she was cheerful and warm, humming as she made breakfast like nothing had happened. She placed a cup of coffee in front of me and kissed my cheek. When I asked if she had fun, she smiled and said it was a great night, full of laughter. I nodded, trying to match her tone, pretending not to notice the faint trace of men's cologne that was not mine. She noticed my silence and tilted her head with mock concern. Then she said it again, in that same patient, patronizing voice. "You are overthinking everything." That sentence broke something inside me. It made me feel foolish for trusting what I saw and heard. I told myself that maybe she was right. Maybe my mind had turned small worries into storms. But deep down, I knew it was not imagination. It was instinct. The human body recognizes betrayal before the heart accepts it. That night, I could not sleep. Her phone lit up several times beside her pillow, silent but alive, as if mocking me. Each glow of the screen felt like a heartbeat that did not belong in our bed. I turned away, staring into the dark ceiling, realizing that the woman breathing softly beside me was slowly becoming a stranger. Every part of me wanted to ask, to confront, to demand the truth. But I stayed still because I wanted to see how far she would go pretending that everything was fine. The truth was coming on its own, and I could feel it approaching like a storm building quietly behind calm skies. 2 weeks later, I was sitting in front of my laptop, finishing some reports for work. It was a quiet evening, the kind where the only sound came from the fan humming behind me. Then a small pop-up appeared in the corner of the screen. iCloud sync completed. I frowned. I never used iCloud. For a moment, I thought it was some random bug. Then it hit me. Months earlier, she had borrowed my laptop to print something for work, and I had let her log into her Apple account. My hands froze above the keyboard. Curiosity and dread collided inside me as I opened the Finder window. A new folder had appeared on the desktop, titled Backup July. My heartbeat grew louder with every click. I told myself I would open it only to make sure nothing private of hers was there. But deep down, I already knew what I was about to see. The folder opened, and there it was. Hundreds of files, photos, voice notes, videos, screenshots, even message backups. At first, everything looked harmless. Selfies of her in the mirror, pictures of her food, random work documents. For a brief second, I felt stupid for doubting her. Then I scrolled further. One image caught my eye. It was her in a car, sunlight pouring through the window, smiling in a way I hadn't seen in months. There was a blur of movement next to her. I clicked on it. My stomach twisted. The blur became clear. It was him, the man from her office, the one she had always mentioned with casual innocence. Just a friend, she used to say. I kept scrolling, unable to stop. There were more photos. One of him wrapping his jacket around her shoulders. Another of them sitting across from each other at a restaurant, laughing, their hands almost touching across the table. Then videos, short clips full of small gestures, inside jokes, the kind of connection that two people share when the world around them disappears. My hands began to shake, but I continued to look. The folder didn't stop giving. Screenshots of messages appeared next. Can't wait for tonight. I miss your scent. He still has no idea. Each word felt like a knife being dragged slowly, deliberately. The room felt colder, heavier. I could hear my own breathing, shallow and uneven. For a moment, I thought I might throw up. Every memory with her replayed in my head. Every night she'd turned away from me. Every time she'd rolled her eyes when I asked simple questions. Every time she told me I was imagining things. I realized it wasn't imagination. It was evidence waiting to surface. She hadn't just lied. She had made me believe I was broken for noticing the truth. I closed the laptop and stared at the wall. The silence in the room pressed against me like a weight. My reflection in the screen looked like a stranger, someone hollowed out. I thought of the words she had thrown at me so easily, the way she smiled while telling me I was overthinking. It wasn't overthinking. It was seeing the truth before it wanted to be seen. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in the same chair, replaying everything in my mind. The sound of her laughter from those videos haunted me. She had given her smile to someone else and left me with the echo of her lies. By morning, one thing was certain. I would never confront her in anger. I would let her reveal who she truly was on her own. I wasn't the fool she thought I was. I had finally seen behind the curtain. That night, I said nothing. The images stayed locked in my mind, looping endlessly like a silent movie I could not stop. I watched the clock move from evening to midnight, every tick reminding me of how much time I had wasted believing her lies. I wanted to see her face when she walked in, to see if guilt would show before she even knew I knew. When I heard the car pull into the driveway, my heart started pounding. She stepped inside, humming softly, the sound of her heels tapping across the floor like nothing had changed. She hugged me from behind the way she always did, resting her chin on my shoulder as if she owned peace itself. I turned to face her, forcing a calmness I didn't feel. I asked her how her day was. She smiled easily and said it was fine, that she had gone out for lunch with coworkers. I asked which ones. She blinked, looked away for a moment, then said all of them. That hesitation, that one small flicker of fear in her eyes, told me everything. I picked up the laptop from the table and opened it. The glow from the screen filled the room as I turned it toward her. Her smile vanished instantly. The color drained from her face, her lips parted, but no sound came out. I told her cloud had synced. My voice was steady, almost too calm. She took a step closer, her hands trembling, and whispered that it was not what it looked like. She reached out to grab the laptop, but I pulled it away. She started talking fast, words spilling out without meaning. She said it was old, that they were just friends, that I had no reason to react this way. I looked at her and saw a stranger. Every image of her that had once brought comfort now felt like poison. I realized I did not even need to shout. The silence between us said more than anger ever could. I stood up, and she froze, tears already building in her eyes. I told her she had made me doubt my sanity for months. I told her how I had believed I was losing my mind, how she had turned every truth I saw into a joke about me being paranoid. I told her I hoped he was worth the peace she had stolen. She started crying then, real tears or well-rehearsed ones, I could no longer tell. She followed me as I walked toward the door, grabbing at my arm, begging me to stop and talk. Her voice cracked, calling my name again and again, but I kept walking. When I reached the driveway, the cool night air hit me like a cleansing wave. She stood in the doorway behind me, her sobs echoing through the quiet street. I turned once, not to comfort her, but to see the truth one last time. Her face was twisted in panic, not remorse. She wasn't sorry she hurt me. She was sorry she got caught. That was the final confirmation I needed. I walked to my car, started the engine, and pulled away. In the rearview mirror, I saw her silhouette shrinking until it disappeared into darkness. For the first time in months, my mind was quiet. The storm she created inside me was finally fading. I didn't feel anger anymore, only relief. She had tried to make me question my reality, but in the end, her own lies had exposed her. And as I drove away, I realized that truth always finds a way to sink itself, even when we try to ignore it. Weeks turned into a blur of quiet days and heavier nights. The first few mornings after I left were the hardest. The bed felt too big, the apartment too still, the silence almost hostile. Every object in the room carried her ghost. The coffee mug she used, the sweater she left on the chair. Even the faint scent of her perfume lingered in the hallway like a stubborn memory refusing to die. I kept telling myself that it would fade eventually, that everything does. The messages began almost immediately. Short ones at first. Just wanted to make sure you're okay. Then longer ones followed, full of apologies and contradictions. She said she never meant to hurt me, that she was confused, that it didn't mean anything, that I was the one she truly loved. I read every word, but never replied. I deleted her number one day and found myself memorizing it the next. It takes time to unlearn a person, especially when you once believed they were home. Then one evening, a new notification appeared. Shared album invitation. The sender was her. My first instinct was to ignore it, but curiosity pushed through. I clicked it open. What I found wasn't anger or mockery. It was sadness disguised as art. A series of photos taken in places that used to belong to us. The same cafe where we had our first date. The beach we visited last summer. The old parking lot where we once sat eating takeout in the rain. Except this time, she was alone in all of them. Sitting at the same tables, walking the same streets, smiling faintly into a camera that seemed to know she wasn't happy. Each photo had a caption. Healing is lonely. I made mistakes. Some people deserve better. I stared at the screen for a long time. It felt like watching a performance where regret played the lead role and truth stayed behind the curtain. I knew she wanted me to respond, to open a door that I had already locked. But there was nothing left to say. She had burned through every apology before she even started writing them. In those weeks, I learned to live differently. I started waking up early again, cooking for myself, walking without checking my phone every few minutes. I met friends I had ignored for months, people who told me they had noticed the change in me long before I did. They said I used to look tired, like I was carrying someone else's weight. I realized they were right. I had been holding a relationship built on illusions, mistaking control for comfort and manipulation for love. One afternoon, I walked into a small cafe downtown, one we had never been to together. The sunlight poured through the windows in golden lines, and for the first time, I felt something like peace. I took a photo, not to show anyone, but to remind myself that I was still here, still breathing, still capable of feeling good without her shadow beside me. That night, I posted the picture. My caption was simple. Turns out I wasn't overthinking. I was just seeing the truth too early. It wasn't bitterness. It was closure. A quiet acknowledgement that my instincts had always been right, that the person I had trusted most was also the one who made me doubt myself the hardest. I didn't expect her to see it, but within minutes, I saw the small notification appear.
Seen.
No reaction followed. No heart emoji. No comment. Just silence. That silence was everything I needed. It was the end of the noise, the end of her voice echoing in my head telling me I was paranoid. It was the sound of peace returning after months of storm. I realized I didn't need revenge or validation. I only needed distance. And now I had it. Days later, I went through the old backup one last time and deleted it completely. No photos, no videos, no messages. Just empty space. It felt symbolic, like cleaning the ashes after a fire. She had left pieces of herself everywhere, but I didn't want them anymore. The person she pretended to be didn't exist, and the one she truly was no longer mattered. Sometimes I wonder if she still looks at that post, if she scrolls through my pictures the way I once scrolled through hers, searching for signs that I still care. Maybe she does. Maybe she doesn't. It doesn't change anything. The truth is, she taught me something I'll never forget. Love without honesty is only performance, and trust once broken never rebuilds the same. I don't hate her. I don't even miss her. I just remember her as a chapter that ended the moment her clouds synced on my laptop. The universe has strange ways of revealing what people hide. She once said I was overthinking everything. But looking back now, I see that I wasn't overthinking. I was paying attention. And in that final silence, when everything between us dissolved into nothing, I finally understood what freedom felt like. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was quiet, steady, and absolute. It was me, walking away from everything false, carrying nothing but the truth.